He's losing and I'm finding
I came to dance, 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 dance. I hit the floor cause that's my plans, 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 plans. I'm going out my favorite brands, 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 brands. Give me some space for both my hands, 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 hands.
Alright, here we go. With Napoleon Hill. First, I don't know beyond. Therefore, I'm the anti-self.
Sometimes say
therefore, I will concentrate my thoughts for 30 minutes thereby create my mind for another to that person. Third, I know this principle of obsession. Inside I keep holding my mind, the message therefore, I will most definitely stay in man myself felt with self-confidence. Fourth, I am clear that now church right after you make life. And I'll never stop crying. No, I shall not. Self-confidence works game. Fifth, I will never rise so up that this long door. Therefore, obligation, no transaction, not benefit on the effect. I will keep my track myself towards my decision. And in moderation, I will serve me. I will make hatred, envy, jealousy, self-defense. I develop love for all men. And I know they take action toward them in every step. I'll positively lead, not with death, and myself. I will dominate the world. This energy, energy that I want today, we will make the graduates with my non-action. All the self-self, non-self first. With following guidance in a positive environment, guaranteed clear source of transaction and unprecedented further growth of the Plus, I dedicate 1 hour a day towards building and protecting my self-confidence. 2. I practice and internalize myself skills for a minimum 1 hour a day. 3. I contact my fear of influence my family. 4. I make conversation plus contact at least 30 plus per day. I go on person. 5. I call all that 6. I set 5 plus 2 appointments for me for fire salad. 7. I complete pre-qualify 100% of my appointments. 8. I have an appointment checklist rate of 50% or greater. 9. I call my sellers weekly to resolve this with every change within 5%. 10. I sell 75% of my delivery. 11. I return every time call contact every time 2 hours before. 12. I report to call my head. Higher approach agreement or more efficient lessons. I recognize that something actual and things outcome. Therefore, I think positive steps will set some judgment. Brother Robert, now I am a voice. Now I am a voice. I will lead, not follow. I will lead, not follow. I will believe, not doubt. I will believe, not doubt. I will create, not destroy. I will create, not destroy. I am a force for good. I am a force for good. I am a leader. I am a leader. Fly beyond. Fly beyond. Set is expanded. Set is expanded. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Step up. Open down the nations. I'm a professional scholar who gets on the goal. I am able to help my clients keep their goal. I have rights that is right. I post on small wins every day. Real estate transactions are abundant in the market. My ability to make things speed. I get numbers every step. I'm a master of every situation. My constant shaking because I live in integrity. I don't have production thoughts. I take instant care of my body. I charge the day with abundance energy. I am fast-pointed. I set clear priorities daily. I know what I want and I get it. I attract the joy of many plans with abundance each day. My reaction gives me a limited financial success. I think prosperous life. I am prosperous. I am my life and have profit every day. Taking action to keep working. I am the authority today. I am going to be debt free. I am tired of pain. I am going to my clients' needs. I can help them too. I'm a real estate expert. I am the license to be a real estate expert. I'm a professional. I'm financially independent. I recommend you to help me out. I have solutions. Prospecting could be my business. I call it fire to sell my own. Prospecting to keep going. I am going to follow up my every life. Before I crash my enthusiasm. I use technology to see. I get Every morning, I am getting closer. I'm not waiting. I know how to keep. I keep on trying snow this weekend?
Oh yeah.
I actually went.
Yeah?
Yes. I like snowboarding. So.
It was beautiful. We're dropping lots in the mountains. There's some good powder this weekend. Anybody go up?
Not yet.
No? There's a real long line on Saturday. So.
Oh yeah.
You went up.
No, I didn't go.
Oh.
No, but I don't go up to the resorts as much anymore because the outside is getting to be more fun. The outside resorts are getting to be more fun. So, gratitude, victories.
I had a surgery on my back for a temporary implant for pain management, and it's working.
It's working?
It's
Yay.
working, so
Yay.
I will get a permanent implant in my back shortly. But yes, this is wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah, that is great. Thank you for sharing that.
We donate food to the church I go to, and we're volunteering, we're cooking and everything, and I found out that a lot of students from the university that are here studying that are not with family or anything, they always come down every Sunday to eat. And we were there cooking for hours and hours, and I ran into a group of students that come down and they said, yeah, we don't really have a lot of family here, we don't have a lot, and we brought friends over that don't really have a place to live really, and so they come every Sunday and they come have food there. I didn't know that.
Wow.
So you don't know how blessed you are until you run into people that don't have much, you know, and they're here studying and they're not with their families. So it felt really good to donate time and to help out, and it's free. So they come in every Sunday and they come and have a good lunch and they take food to go for a couple of days.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
So
thank
it
you
felt
for
really
doing
good
that.
to do, yeah.
That is really good. That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of people that have very interesting stories, and we don't know that most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not just for them. Anyone can cook. Actually, the food is amazing. So you should go. It's Indian food, and it's at the Sikh Temple of Utah.
Where's that at?
It's on 4800 South of Redwood Road.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Every Sunday there's so much food. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So over like 350 people come to eat.
And they do that just this time of year?
Yeah. Well, no.
Oh,
It's every
okay.
Sunday. But
Yeah,
this
if you
time of
could
year
get
is easier.
Dinner on Sunday. That's awesome.
It's an
Thank you.
option.
Thank you for sharing that. That's great.
I'm thankful to be back to work. Thankful that the doctors found out what was wrong with my mom and that she's doing better.
Good. That's good. And we're grateful you're back. Thank you. Anybody else? I'm grateful for me. This weekend I did something kind of fun. I was with my kids, and I decided let's just do what they want to do for a couple of hours and see. And we ended up painting, going to markers, going to crayons, and we had pictures all over the kitchen. And I was just grateful for my 3 kids. It was so fun to do that for me. So, anybody else? Okay, this week, I think it's a normal week. Russ has got his peak agent classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's not just for new agents. So look at the schedule of what he's teaching, and if you want a refresher, I think lately he's been doing some of the technologies. So, Zap and some of those things that are going to be very beneficial come to the end of the year when we're trying to set up our SLI campaigns. Knowing how to do that is critical.
Where's the schedule?
Let's see.
Down by Jeanette.
It's on the wall
Where
down
you
by
can always
Jeanette.
get a copy from Russ, either email him or text him and he'll send it to you.
Yeah, I'll talk to Russ and see if we can get one up here too, just so we can refer to it. Wednesday, base camp, 11:30, 12:30, and I think that's all that we have this week. You see anything else? Okay. Awesome. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, Toastmasters. We gotta get that
Toastmasters,
planned in
1
there.
o'clock.
Here.
Okay. It's going to be in this room,
Yes.
and should be great.
1 o'clock. What day was it again?
Wednesday, 1 o'clock.
We may, to be announced, but we may have a second chapter.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. Well, we have a special guest again today. It's always special and a great
Special
opportunity.
guest.
Except for Lindsay always leaves for him. A lot. She's heard enough of George.
So she's done.
But George, let's hear some wisdom.
How's everybody doing today?
Very good.
Awesome. How are you? Jeff, good to see you.
George.
Did anybody listen to the daily message today?
I did.
Yes.
Good. Nice. Good.
That was dedicated to Jeff Staples, just for the record. So if you know Jeff, you can say, nice message. And you know what, Jeff?
What's that?
He worked harder out of the gym today. Did you notice that? Instead of always trying to escape work, he actually embraced it.
Where is he?
It was a good thing.
He's now exhausted.
He's exhausted. He is exhausted. All right, so I want, always in this time of year we talk about goals, business plans, different things like that. And so one of the things that is always a hot topic to me personally is just the level of goals. There's a lot of people, or the goals that we set and the way in which we set goals. I'm always fascinated by, there's people I meet all the time who are like, oh, no, I don't really like goals, or I'm not really a goal-setting person, or they'll avoid the goal-setting process. And then there's people who will set goals and then they never really achieve them, or they forget about them, or they'll beat themselves up about them, or they'll embrace the fact that they achieved them and accomplished them. But I want to point out that if you look at the foundation of really this company, it is really all based on the formula of goal setting. And when you look at a goal, the thing that I want to just bring up a few key things that I do personally. I'm always looking at, oftentimes, when it's something that is real measurable, not like, hey, did I go on a trip or not this trip? Like, let's just say you had a goal to go to Paris, France, and you can check it off your list. But most of the goals I find that we often will set is that they're based off of a percentage. So we'll say things like, hey, we're going to earn a certain amount of money, and we don't hit the exact number. And I remember I used to really beat myself up on regards to the amount of money that I would earn. There he is. Welcome. They were excited. They thought you got too worn out at the gym today because of your effort, which was sizably different, which was nice to see. All right. So money, right? So I used to, let's just say that you had a goal to make $250,000 and you made $200,000. I'm always interested. I have a big belief, and I think I was talking to a handful of people about this, but if you really hit 80% of your goal, in most cases, you're going to have an extraordinary life. So let me just give you an example. If you prospected 4 to 5 days a week, that's 80%. If you took 80% of your listings, that's 80% of your listings, you would be, incredibly happy. I know you would be. I was having this conversation with Cody Emery on Friday, and he goes, look, I'm at 78% on my appointment to take ratio. I said, if you took 80% of your leads and converted them into something, if you had 80% of your buyers convert into a sale, if you had 80% of the listings that you listed and 80% of them reduced their price the way that they should be, you would be extremely happy. So what's interesting is that 80% is a real magical number. I think that in almost all cases in this business, if you operated 80%, you would win the game and you would be incredibly wealthy economically because of it. So not that I don't want you to hit 100%, not that you shouldn't try to hit 100%, but I just remember years ago I used to beat myself up as to not hitting a goal, and then I just, for just kicks and giggles, said, man, what happens if I took this as a percentage? And I remember the percentages were like 91% of the transactions we wanted to hit. I remember I hit like 97% of the income that we wanted to hit. I remember we hit like 83% of what we want to do in relocation. And I remember I was like, well, overall, I'm pretty happy with how things have worked out here because I hit 80%. So I think it's an important thing to consider. Okay? So the other thing I wanted to do today was this. I am fascinated. We'll sit in these meetings and we'll talk about the importance of prospecting. We'll talk about the importance of goal setting. We'll talk about the importance of our sphere. And I may get to the sphere, but I just want to make sure that from an activity level that you walk out of here, even though this isn't a huge group, it's the right group. And you guys are here. So I want to do just a little bit of a goal setting workshop with you real quick. And I just want to see, I'm gonna ask a few of you, so you have to participate because I'm gonna ask each of you a few of these things. So you're gonna write down these goals, all right? So here's the deal. So number one is I am interested as to how much income you plan to earn in 2019. Okay? I'm gonna ask you a handful of goals here. Keep going. So write these down because I'm going to start picking on you. If I don't think you're participating, then I'm going to for sure pick on you. Just for the record.
Yes, you will.
I guarantee you I will. All right. I just want to know how many transactions, but I want you to divide it up a little bit. I want to know how many buyers and I want to know how many sellers. Okay. So just keep going with me on this. Okay. Number 3. I want to know where you want to live, and I want to specifically know the house and the place. I'm really interested. I'm always fascinated where people constantly talk about the fact that where they live is not where they want to live. And if you're living where you really want to live and you're in the house that you really want to live in, what I'm curious of is, are you going to buy a second home, an investment home? Are you going to have a home from, I don't care, from Scottsdale, Arizona to maybe it's St. George, Utah, to maybe a second home in La Jolla, to whatever it is for you. All right, so where are you going to live? Number 4 is I'm always fascinated as to how many people drive what they don't want to drive. So what are you going to drive? All right, you're in one of the most lucrative businesses in the world, and I find people somehow consistently driving what they don't want to drive. Okay? Everybody working here? Like, you're supposed to be doing this now, Jeff. Like answering the questions now. We're going to go back. I'm going to pick on you.
I'm just trying to look like I'm involved.
Okay, all right. I'm just making sure because everyone's like looking at me instead of writing. So I just want to make sure because I'm going to be asking you these questions in here in just 1 second, all right? So income transactions, where you're going to drive. 5, I want to talk about where you're going to travel. Okay, and I jokingly always say that there is more than just camping trips and the ability to go downtown and see Temple Square, right? I'm just like, there is more to life than just those few things. It is, now, look, I'm fine if you want to go camping, but I want to hear about it. And then on the travel side, what I'm always interested in is where, when, and how. Where are you going, when are you going to go, and how are you going to get there? I'm fascinated as to how many people I meet who are so excited about how cheaply they went somewhere. I like as if it's like, I went to Paris, well, but I was able to do it on miles, and I was able to like cut this and cut that and do this, and we were able to do it all for like $399. Like as if that's something to be excited about. How about you were to say, I stayed at the Four Seasons in Paris, which is, by the way, the single most expensive hotel in the world, just if you didn't know that, by the way. I mean, it's called George V something hotel. It's the least expensive room, I believe, is over $3,000 per night.
Have you stayed there, George?
I have not stayed there, but it is on my list.
And you're going to tell us about it.
Yeah, one of these days, right? So my point is, again, where, when, and how.
We're going to have a retreat.
How are you going to get there, Jeff?
One night, first class.
Right? How are you going to get there? All right? Okay, so at least a couple of things. And by the way, we're kind of talking 2019, not, I mean, some of these things I can argue that maybe they're within the next few years. That's fine. But just income, transactions, live, drive, travel. All right? Number 6, I'm curious is to something you're going to do with your health. Right? Now look, here, let me just point out this point in goal setting. Most everything that we do costs money, and there's people who buy things, but I will tell you that the thing that is the most rewarding and has the biggest reward is that you buy, but you buy experiences. And so what I'm really curious of is what are your experiences and what experiences are you going to have in your life? Okay? So specifically in your health, that might be to weigh something, do something, maybe it's a triathlon, climb something, maybe it's run something, swim on, whatever. I just want to know something regarding your health. And then let's just go down here, and then the 7th is, I'm just curious, is this something specific to your family, something maybe you're going to buy for them or that you're going to experience with them specifically. All right? So number 7. And then number 8, by the way, the reason why these kind of come so freely to me, gang, is because this is stuff that I'm writing down all the time. I mean, possibly not every day, but I would certainly say most likely every week, and for sure every 2 weeks. I'm writing down, just reevaluating, resetting, revisiting the vision, the dreams, the goals, the objectives of life. So it's important that you recognize that, right? And so number 8 for me, and again, not just kicking these out, but your health, family, and then I'm just curious as to specifically regarding money, and I'm going to put the word up here, investment. I'm just curious as to what are you doing with money, right? How are you using real estate? One of the great questions, ask your sphere of influence, or you just listed, just sold, or anyone. How are you using real estate to invest in your future, all right, or prepare for your future? How are you using real estate? So I'm curious as to just simple money goals, right? You know, if we could put up the word here, assets, right, or cash flow. And I'm just curious as to, just look, you may already know the goal, write it down again. Like, what does that look like, right? What is your net worth? What is the investment next? I mean, simple goals of buying just one investment property per year as a minimum standard, right? At minimum, that should be a minimum for you. So what does the money situation look like? What does the investments look like? What does the assets look like, you know, specifically? And then 9, let's just look at just your business. Right? What are some of the goals specifically with your business? I know we've talked about income and transactions, but what are some of the things that you'd like to see with your business happen? And I mean, what I mean by that for me would be, is it add team members? Is it create a platform for my way I do business, the way I do leads, the way I work my sphere of influence? You know, what are some of the goals and objectives that you should have specifically for your business? Okay? And then the 10th, we'll just put it up here, and then number 10 is, I just want to put up here relationships. And if I was to hit a few of them, I would say maybe something specifically with yourself. Number 2, something regarding spiritual for you, whatever that is. Maybe it's that you want to go to church. Maybe it's that you want to, you know, do something with charity. Maybe it's that you want to do something to serve people. But just something that connects you to a higher self or higher consciousness. So again, your relationship with yourself, maybe it's something spiritual, maybe it's something with your spouse or your intimate, I'm just going to put your spouse, but your intimate partner, right? Maybe it's something with your children, I'm just going to put the word up here, kids, right? But just something in that relationship. Is it something that you need to do? How about even a goal? Is there someone you need to forgive? Is there someone that you need to repair a relationship with? And the 5th I always put is everyone else, right? So me, spiritually, my intimate relationship, my children, and 5th is everyone else. When I talk about relationships, my ability to relate. So again, is there a goal? Is there somewhere you need to work in an area where, man, it would be really a big deal? Is it to repair a relationship, put together a relationship? Is it to improve a relationship anywhere in that thing? So, look, all I know in my life is as I look back and now and reflect is that when I get real serious and very resolved as to what these things are and other things that you could write down, right? The question I always like to ask is number 1 and number 2 that are really related to goal setting, but that is, number 1 is this. What am I, many of you have heard this, but just a good reminder, unwilling to accept any longer in my life? That question is one of the most important questions I've ever asked in my life. Because it is the question of complacency. It is the question of, why am I accepting these things in my life that make no sense? And then the second question is always followed up with this. And number 2 is, what does my life look like? And I'm looking for, again, I'm looking for vision here, right? I'm looking for a vision. What does it look like? Look like when it is on track, right? I know what it looks like. And the things that give me the cheat sheet to this, by the way, are these 7 equities. So when I ask this question of people, it's amazing, I get people who give me like a 1-word sentence, or they'll say things like, well, I'm not really settling anywhere in my life. I'm like, you're an idiot. Yes, you are. I don't say that first part first, Ginger. I usually refrain from the idiot part, but I'm thinking it. Because the fact is that they're not thinking clear enough, and they're not expanding beyond these things. So I just want you to think about this. I've listed a bunch of them up here, but just again, in no particular order, in these questions, there's the kind of the cheat sheet, and that is again, these aren't in any order, but spiritual, family, finance, or money, your health, travel, your business, your career, is another way to put it, right? How you're doing your business. And then the last is your legacy, or I put leadership. Look, you cannot be focused enough on those things. Those equities of your life really cover majority of your life. So when I'm asking, what am I willing to accept any longer in my life, I go back to the equities of my life and go, okay, spiritually, what have I been accepting? You know, am I meditating? Am I praying? Am I visualizing? Am I connecting? Am I serving? Am I doing charity work? Am I giving of my time and my energy and my effort and my money so that I can create a higher connection of consciousness? That's important. Right? If I'm looking at my family, you could break it down again to these relationships, especially, of course, with your spouse or your partner and kids. Right? Finance, economically. So look, the thing I didn't finish, which is the one thing I have figured out, is that I'm going to get this. This is what I'm going to get. I'm going to get what I focus on. And that is a critical component to success. And the problem is so often, this is what's interesting, we will focus on what we don't want versus what we do want. We'll focus on, well, we hope that we don't, run out of money, or that we don't have enough transactions, versus how many transactions will we have, how many deals will we do, how much income will we earn, right? The focus has to be on what we want, not on what we don't want. And so it really comes down to the power of what I was talking about at the last summit, or one before that, is this. It is the power of our intentions. And I just would challenge you that some of you have not set clear intentions. You really don't know where you're going. And the challenge is that if I should be able to ask any of you, right, any of these questions, and you should be able to answer them very quickly, very precisely, and very clear from the standpoint of where you're going, because the fact is that if you don't know where you're going, it's unlikely that you're going to get anywhere. You're just going to spin, and you're going to be paralyzed, and you're going to live in fear, and you're going to live in this only if kind of mindset. Well, if I really want this, but you don't really want it, or you'd pay the price to get there, or you never even really decide on where you're going. So just again, I go back to, look, buy things or buy experiences. My observation is the funnest things of life are things that I've bought where there's an experience that comes along with it. That's why I love to travel, because the experiences that last a lifetime with the things that I've done in the past. And then again, going back to saying, okay, where am I settling? This is all about complacency. Like, where am I settling in life? And then what does life look like when it's on track? Because you have to have a vision. You have to see it. And if you don't see it, you're rarely going to get there. And it's just like I was talking about last week, where I think someone else was speaking, but I said, look, can you really see yourself doing the deals? Can you see the money in the bank? Can you see the transactions? Can you see them happening? In fact, Linda Martinez and I were talking about this, is that you've got to get familiar. You've got to get familiar with your goals. You got to be comfortable with them, or you will push them away. And just like last week, I talked about the fact of Sir Edmund Hillary, right, who was sitting there on the top of the mountain and didn't even take a picture of himself. And they asked him again, how did it feel? And he said, just like I imagined it. Because he said, I'd been there how many times? 10,000 times before. So when he got on the top of Mount Everest on May 29th, 1953, it was like, no big deal. Oh, I've already been here 10,000 times already. And that's what I find fascinating still, is they didn't take a picture. Fascinating. We'll take a picture of our food. We'll take a picture of the most nonsense stuff. And here's the guy on the highest mountain in the world. And he's like, yeah, I'm good.
Too much equipment.
Crazy, though. No, he took a picture of Tenzing Norgay. But they didn't exchange the pic. They didn't trade the camera.
Do you have time for a question?
Yeah, we're good.
I
was just about to open up the question. So
what tips do you have for someone struggling with indecision? Because a lot of what you're talking about is being decisive.
Decide.
Decisive on your goals. So
you know how you run faster? Run faster.
Yeah.
Decide.
Just
I mean, now that you're,
What if they
but Ginger,
decide
here's the deal.
it's
Once you're
right,
aware that you're
it's
indecisive, once you're aware that you say, wait, oh my gosh, I'm indecisive. Decide. And people always say, well, wait, how do I decide? Decide. People always say to me, well, how did you decide to create I just decided. Because I knew that if I didn't make a decision, then I would be doing, who knows what I'd be doing. I just had to simply decide. As long as it was, for me, as long as it's moral, ethical, and good, if that makes sense, then I'm cool. Like, decide. And you know, the general rule, especially with my children, is you got to have a goal. You can always change the goal, but you got to do this goal for at least 90 days. That's my deal. Got to have a goal. You can change the goal, but you can't change it for 90 days. So as long as I know that they have a goal and an objective, and you know, some of you heard me talk about the fact of this, but it was cool. Yesterday, my son had a lesson with this guy who just came from the Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, pitching as a pitcher, and it was interesting. The guy said, "Look, I want you to realize that you're good enough as a sophomore to be in the senior lineup." And his brother is interesting. His brother is the head pitching coach for Cottonwood High School, but his brother, who just stopped playing for the St. Louis Cardinals, is now training with my son Isaac, and is instilling this vision of what is possible. And he said, "Look, your goal should be to be a starting pitcher. You should be in the rotation. You are big." He goes, "I know you are good enough to get there." So again, just it's this decision that I can tell that my son kind of lost that for a period of time, and now he's all committed again because others have instilled it in him. Others have said things of what's possible for him. And all of a sudden, he's made another decision to say, okay, hey, this is where I'm going to be.
So the decision is kind of following the vision.
Yeah. Yeah, you bet. Yeah, I would say so.
It might be good to sit down and have an imaginary meeting with 3 or 4 of your mentors sitting at a table.
I love that,
for an
right?
hour,
Napoleon Hill.
And discuss it with them in your mind.
Yeah.
Get their feedback.
Yeah. I usually, Ginger, like my decision when I say things like, this is what I'm going to do, is that people are either laughing about it, giggling about it, or shaking their head about it. Because I know that, and even if I don't go that far to feel that experience and get that experience, which I've had many a times, is that I know that if I can have my mind, if I tell people that is going to feel so uncomfortable, it means I'm on the right track. It means I'm really pushing myself and driving myself towards something of greatness. If people are like, oh, well, yeah, okay, well, no big deal. I want people to go, holy crap. Like, my whole deal, Jeff, is I'm going to go to outer space before age 60. I don't know, that's my deal. And I love the fact of the look on people's faces like, what? Yeah, I will be. I'm going to go to outer space.
It's only 8 miles up.
I know, right, yeah, only 8 miles. That's it.
SpaceX.
Right? Okay, any other thoughts, comments? Rick?
Arnold Schwarzenegger's same thing. His journey to the United States is profound. He made a decision young that he was going to do it and to become a superstar, become an actor, and he was laughed at every step of the way.
Yeah.
And just conquered his story is fascinating.
Yeah. It's amazing once we resolve within our minds and our hearts what we are going to do.
Actually, there is this interview I listened to yesterday from this individual that wrote this book because he interviewed just all these top individuals from the owners of Tom's Shoes, and Bill Gates, and Maya Angelou, the list goes on. And he talks, and the book is called The Third Door. And there's like 2 thoughts that come to mind. Like, for example, when I get stuck in a decision or this paralyzed or what's going to happen, all these things start to happen. I'm always reminded, okay, well, now you're thinking about the how, and you have to stop thinking about the how. Because like in this individual that wrote this book on The Third Door, as he said, there's always 3 ways to get it. He's like, you can wait in the line at the club, that goes around the corner. You can do VIP like all the stars do, and then there's a third door where you like find the back door or kitchen window broken or something that just you're gonna do. So a lot of these interviews he got with all of these people, I think he was only 18 or 19 years old. At that time, when he set that goal, he didn't realize how difficult it was gonna be to find these individuals and essentially interview them. So he would just, like, for 2 of them, he met them in the bathroom, and he was like prepared on what he was going to ask them and what his purpose was on interviewing them. And it's so fascinating to hear his journey, because the whole time he said there was not one time where, you know, I ever thought about how I was going to do it. Like, I just knew that this is what I was going to do, and I just had to like go for it. And he just said that. So it's all of the interviews he had with all of those individuals, because nobody would give him the time of day, of course, when he tried to go through the gatekeeper.
Yeah.
He had to
find a way,
which was fascinating to hear.
You know, that's my whole statement of commitment. When you know someone's really committed, how do you know? It's always number one. Is that they're highly disciplined, and number two, they are highly creative. They find a way. Find a way. Simple to see whether someone's committed or not. They are highly disciplined, and they are going to find a way. High level creativity. If you say you're going to be the best, if that makes sense, and define exactly what that is, to be like for sell by owners or expireds or just listed, just sold, with your maybe it's other groups from BNI to you name it, whatever it may be, you define what that is and what your expectations out of all those different avenues, and all of a sudden you begin to create the possibility, because you are highly committed. And you always know when someone's not. You know, you hear all their excuses, their pathetic reasons why, and unless you're in that mode of making lots of excuses, you'll embrace the fact of, I totally understand. Or you can be like me, as I'm listening to the nonsense, depending on how well I know you, I may listen, but in most cases, if I know you well enough, I'm going to call you on it. If there's enough rapport, I'm going to call you on it. Because the fact is that you can make excuses, or you can make a way to make a way to achieving what you want. You're going to get one or the other. Excuses or a path. And you can find it or not find it. And it's entirely up to you. Not Olson, that's the copy guy, or their company. But Les Brown, of course, he says, how is what? What does he say? How is none of your business? At least one of you knew that. How is none of your business? So here's the deal. Even today, I can't necessarily tell you, Jeff, how I will get to outer space, but I'm going to get there. I will.
A lot of bottle rockets, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. People get really worked up about knowing the plan immediately. And I have, people will talk about my impatience, but there's lots of things where I am very patient. I will write it, I will define it, I will embrace it, I will talk about it, and I will just be on the constant lookout for a path to get there. It's the reason why I really I don't do this as much, but I used to write down 1 million, 10 million, 100 million, 1 billion. And I've settled on the idea that I can create $1 billion company. Why not? Why not? I don't know exactly how yet, but I know it can be done. And I will. Or maybe it'll be companies, and I'm okay with that too. But I do know that I will get exactly what I focus on. And for some reason, I've realized over the years that little things that seem to come true when I had no idea how to get them. So someone's going to gather the wealth and the abundance in this country. Why not have it be you? There's no reason it can't be. No reason. No reason. Paul?
For early on in my career, a long time ago, we all have a problem with discipline. And what I found that was successful is surrounding yourself with like-minded enablers until you get to the point where you get the commitment, you have the discipline to carry yourself. Because it's really, really difficult to just go from a cold start to being committed and disciplined.
Oh yeah.
And if you're finding individuals that are in a similar, that are like-minded and have the similar, aspirations, goals, dreams, and so forth, you are engaging them, and together they become basically your accountability, or your life coach, or the individuals that help you get to that point where you can end up achieving your own level of discipline and commitment to
Yeah, that's great. Love that. Thank you. It's good. Well, I just encourage you, although I didn't call any because we've run out of time, but I would encourage you to really know where you're going. It's the example I've given for years, which is if someone pulls up at the front door of this office and yells at you and you know them, and they say, hey, Jason, hey, Ruby, get in. The first words in your mouth or out of your mouth are going to be, well, maybe why, but really what you're asking is, where are we going? And it's the reason why in the game plan of a presentation, any great speaker, you almost always hear, if you're going to be going to a seminar, they say, all right, this is what we're going to do over the next 2 or 3 days. Because they're going to tell you where you're going. It's the same thing in a presentation. Let people know where you're going. So if you can let everybody else, and you know if you're supposed to let everybody else know where they're going, then you should know where you're going personally. And the great argument is, well, how do I know what to choose? Again, I go, with what you said, how do I decide? I don't know if there's necessarily a how. You just, what I've realized over the years, that the more times I make a decision, the better I get at making decisions. Think about that. The more decisions I make, the more better I become at making decisions. The argument is that, there's all these studies done on, there's the person who makes lots of decisions in their company. Let's just say it's a person who owns a company or works in a company like each one of you do. You make lots of decisions, and you're going to have a few mistakes on those decisions. But because you're quick at making decisions, you'll change it fast. On the other flip side, they have the person who makes very few decisions. But guess what? They still make a few bad decisions each year. So you can either make lots of great decisions and have a few bad ones, or make very few decisions and make a few bad ones, but in the end it's the same. But the person who often becomes more profitable, more productive, and earns more money specifically is the person who makes lots of decisions. So again, it's not that you can't change the decision, but you've got to decide. You've got to elevate yourself based on the fact of knowing where you go, because decision making is based on knowing your decision. If you never know really where you're going, you'll never make decisions every single day to do the right thing so that you can get there. So it's really important that at minimum, even that you decide upon these things and other things that are important to you, because you've got to decide. And if you don't decide on where you're going, man, frankly, I'll leave it at this. What a lame way to live life. To not know where you're going, to just exist, And to fight the fact of what life can be for you if you truly decide on where you're going. So decide. Know where you're going. And then begin making decisions towards the outcome of your decisions, and live an extraordinary life. One that you live by design, not by accident, not someone else's plan, not someone else's ideas, but your ideas, your plan, your idea of success. Again, what does it look like when my life is on track because you decided where you were going? It's a big deal. Remember, Earl Nightingale said, right? It's not that people can't accomplish things. It's just that they never decide on what they're going to accomplish, right? Or they decide on where they're going. It's not that they can't go somewhere significant. It's they never truly decide on where they're going. So decide. And you might be wrong, so change it. And then you'll know. But you'll never know until you decide. Okay? Any thoughts, comments? Okay, let's rock and roll. Here we go. Let's have a great day, a great week. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I succeed because I've got my goals. I'm an optimist. I like talking to new people. I know it's important too. I remember people's names. I'm created by my father. I am passionate about real estate. I know distance is my greatest tool. I like acting places for listening. I enjoy reading to improve my sales skills. My thoughts make my emotions action results. I focus on my dreams daily. My presentation is powerful. I improve my skills daily. I am happy. I love to prosper because it feeds my business. I see my future as awesome. I love my life. I am grateful and thankful. I control my thinking. I believe in me. I feel outstanding. I use my beliefs positive. I get things done. I provide impressive service. I drink water daily. I connect with people. People love me. I love others. I am disciplined, accountable, and daily schedule. I prospect daily. I set appointments daily. I'm a master trainer. I achieve my goals. I'm a real estate rock star. I'm passionate about my life. I live as an person. I'm confident in my sales skills. I know my destiny. I'm healthy and strong. I'm powerful. I'm unstoppable. I keep positive. Yes!
Get out the way of me and my crew. I'm getting close, so I'm gonna do. Just what the fuck I do. Yeah, 'cause it goes on and on and on. Sometimes
right here, you know,
So-
whatever.
Like,